Hello.
¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Bien.
Qué bueno. Empecé con uno. O esa es la otra para esta gente aquí que me están haciendo un pinche madre aquí. I'll explain that later.
Okay.
Kind of.
Talking about other people.
Yeah, these people. Yeah, see?
How you gonna talk about me?
See, I know a little.
There you go. Here, turn that around. You sit over there. What do you mean why? Because you're going to look at the damn computer. Let me mute because I'm about to curse.
Hello. Hey.
I'll be with you.
I'm recording this one, so.
Hello. I'm Miss Amber. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Just looking to see if there's other people waiting.
Yeah, he's practicing muting and unmuting.
Marcus, how's school going?
Oh, it's going all right. We're getting there.
Okay. Are you in a shed?
No, this is actually we're working on drywalling this place. It's gonna be kind of like my office.
Okay.
Can you let me in, Anne-Marie, on my other computer? I'm in the lobby, computer lobby. Thank you. You.
All right, I'm just gonna check and see who, we're supposed to have Steve. Lenora's here, Kenny is here. Corey's here. Is Sean here? I can't hear you, Kenny.
John did his yesterday.
Okay. Oh yes, Jordan. Okay. Farrell. Zotto and Dennis Crawford. Jim, do you know if Dennis and Farrell are coming?
I have not seen either of them today.
Okay.
Just opening the schedule now.
The chief did the sign-ups, so.
Farrell is here. Let me call her.
Thank you. Okay.
Farrell,
Can
you're working right now, right? Are you in the building?
somebody reach Steve to let him know that he logged into the wrong meeting? He logged into yesterday's.
On the
I can email him the thing.
Thank you.
Hmm.
okay. Do you have a computer to do that? Okay. All right. Yeah, if you'd rather be in your car, that's fine. If not, you can come upstairs. I've got it up on the screen. All right, thanks. I'll let everybody know. Yeah, thanks. Farrell is on her way back from handling a complaint,
Okay.
and she should be in the parking lot now.
Okay. So we can wait a couple minutes, especially being new. She probably make sure she's here for the whole thing.
And of course, always the worry with Todd is like, well, did I, am I too low? Could we find more? Like, well, I don't know. But then it's like, are you too high?
Mike's hot. Mike's hot.
Okay.
Farrell's here.
All right. And still don't have Steve.
I emailed him, so I don't know. Hopefully soon.
Well, again, we'll be putting this on YouTube. All right, so I'm going to start by making sure everybody knows exactly where to get the correct version of what we're looking at. I'm going to share my screen here for a moment. And, all right. So if you're logged in to the intranet, which apparently I'm not, if you go under government and the employee intranet, one, you can see we're putting more and more information, so make sure you acquaint yourself with the intranet. If you click on personnel manual, there are two files there. One is the personnel manual that exists today, and the one above it, proposed personnel manual for review, is what we want everybody to be looking at. So that is how you get to it. And I'm going to go ahead, and are you seeing the PowerPoint?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to walk you through the PowerPoint presentation that we've developed to really just acquaint people with what we've changed. So what we've done is we've said, in some cases, if it's just a little bit of language that we've added, it's underlined. And in some cases, there's a slide that says before and proposed. So we want you to get a sense of the changes. So one, why are we updating it? State and federal laws have changed. Honestly, I don't know when the last total redo of the manual was. We know it's been well over 10 years. So there are a number of legal issues that are not addressed that we need to make sure that we cover in it. We need to make it consistent with current policies and practices. And, you know, we're also looking for general fairness. I will say we've got a building official is in the waiting room. In the case where, in Farrell in particular, and since we're recording this, other officers will be seeing it as well. For cases where people are in the collective bargaining unit within the police department, there are a number of provisions in the manual that do not apply because the contract allows for something different. So the manual does apply in the cases where the contract is silent. The other thing that is not, you know, again, if there's something that's different than what the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights would prescribe, obviously for any sworn police officers, we follow the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights. So we have some added sections. We have a glossary of definitions and terms, general provisions, and you'll see as we go through, it gives you the section number so that you can find what you're looking for. Responsibility for managing information and serving the public. So it goes over how we're supposed to interact with the public, the media, and with city council. There is a statement in here that we are an at-will employer, so all employment, again, unless addressed through other legal means, our employees are at-will employees. And then I think most of you know we've had a pilot comp time policy, and we have added that into this. There's a notice of pregnancy. Again, that's section 4.5. That is one of the legal requirements. We also made some changes to include the Fair Labor Standards Act where applicable. So you know, you'll see that as we have updated all of the job descriptions, the Fair Labor Standards Act classification is on the job description, so there is no confusion about how the positions fall. And there are references to the Fair Labor Standards Act throughout. We also have a section on the Family and Medical Leave Act. So throughout the personnel manual, we use terms department manager and supervisor. Depending on the chain of command in a department, this could be one and the same. For example, in the building official's office, Robin is the department manager and he's the only supervisor. However, in the police department, you have other people who could be the supervisor, as is the case in the maintenance department. So there are a number of responsibilities that are allocated to the supervisor. In some cases, in the smaller departments, the department head is that supervisor. In the case where something is delegated to the department manager, the supervisor does not have the authority to act on those issues. That does have to go to the department manager. Again, this is one where we've underlined the addition. If an employee is going to be late or unable to report for work, you're required to notify your supervisor at least 30 minutes before the scheduled start of your shift. Right now, it doesn't mention how long before the start of your shift, but the reality is that for many of the jobs here, if you're not going to be here or if you're going to be late, if you don't share that information with your supervisor or with enough advance notice, it can disrupt the operation. Obviously, there are always going to be cases where, you know, you get a flat tire on the way to work, so you're going to be late, and you can't do that 30 minutes in advance, but, you know, the general rule would be 30 minutes prior. Meal breaks. Right now, it's the length of the break is determined by the department that the employee is employed with. Individual departments can schedule the break and meet organizational requirements. So there's very little detailed information given on that. It is a paid break, and that is not intended to change. Where it's not clear is how long you have to work to get that break. For instance, if you work from 8 until noon, you are not entitled to a break. But that's not documented anywhere, and I don't believe that it's been consistently applied across the organization. So under the state law, anybody who works 7.5 hours needs to have at least a 30-minute break. Once you take it with our 8-hour shift, the fact that we offer a paid lunch break, our work day is really only 7 hours, so we couldn't leave it at 7.5 hours. So what we are saying is that all employees working 6 hours or more in a day will be provided with a 1-hour paid meal break each regularly scheduled day. They have to be taken within the first 2 hours or the last 2 hours of work as designated by the department. You have to leave your workspace. You have to physically stop working, and again, we pay for that meal break. Supervisors have discretion over when it can be. So if you want to take lunch at noon, but there's a meeting scheduled, your supervisor can say to you, your lunch today is going to be at 12:30 or it's going to be at 1. Vacation time. Currently, we have 3 levels of accrual. 6 months to 9 years, you get 8 hours per month. And it's also specified in days, not hours in the current manual. 10 to 19 years, you accrue 12 hours per month. And if you've been here 20 or more years, you accrue 16 hours per month. We've added a couple of levels here. We said if you're for your first 4 years, well, really for your first 5 years, you accrue 8 hours per month. 5 to 9 years, you accrue 10 hours per month. 10 to 19, 12 hours per month. 20 to 24, 16. And then if you're here more than 25 years, you would accrue 18 hours per month. Years of service, we have specified that one corresponds with the anniversary date, and a completed month of service is considered to be working or using paid leave through the 15th of the month. Vacation may be used by new employees 3 months after their date of hire. Right now, you're not allowed to use any leave for the first 6 months. We've changed it to 3 months for this. We have, I think everybody's aware, we have vacation sellback. So if you are eligible to accrue 96 hours of vacation in a year or 144 hours of vacation in a year, right now you can sell back 40 hours in lieu of taking vacation time during the month of December. If you are able to accrue 192 hours of vacation, you can sell back up to 80 hours, or you can sell back 80 hours in lieu of taking vacation time. What we are recommending, we wanted to provide a little an increased benefit because that is kind of a big space between those years of service, or the amount of hours you can accrue and how much you can sell back. If you can accrue 96 hours of vacation in a year, our plan is to keep it at 40 hours. If you are going, or if you're able to accrue 120, we would up it to 48 hours. 144 hours of accrual, you could sell back 56, and at 168 hours of vacation accrual, you could sell back 80 hours. The leave would have to be sold back in 8-hour increments. Sick leave. Right now, an employee can accumulate 130 days of sick leave. If you accumulate more than the max allowable, on January 1st, it gets reduced to that 130 days. 130 days, just so you're aware, equates to 1,040 hours. Well, for civilians, not for people on a 12-hour shift. 130 is the maximum amount of days an employee can be compensated for upon separation. Employees may not begin using sick leave until they've worked with the city for 6 months. You get 1 day of sick leave per completed month of service, and sick time can't be used until after the 6-month introductory period. Our only change in sick leave, or we have a couple of changes actually, but the main change in sick leave is about the payout upon separation. We are recommending that if you have 1 to 9 years of service, you will be able to be paid out for 96 hours upon separation. If you have 10 to 19 years of service, you'll be able to be paid out 520 hours at separation. And if you have 20 or more, you would still be able to be paid out up to 1,040 hours. I do want to note that most employers do not pay out any sick leave unless it's retirement, unless it's considered part of a retirement benefit. So even though we've changed this some, it is still very much a benefit that is unique to Lewis. I'm sure there are maybe a handful of places that do it, but it is pretty unusual. We would continue to allow accrual of 1 sick day per month, but we are specifying that the completed month of service is through the 15th. Again, similar to how we're doing vacation, you would be able to use sick leave after 3 months instead of after 6 months. So we are allowing people to use it sooner. And we're putting in there that employees who take 3 or more consecutive days of sick leave may be required to provide a doctor's note. That is something that is required at times anyway. As it relates to sick time not being used within the first 3 months of service, one of the things that we specify is under no circumstances is sick leave to be used during this time. If something comes up and a person needs time off, we would allow use of vacation with the department manager and city manager approval. That's something that, again, it's not supposed to be done now for the first 6 months, but there has been some inconsistency in how this has been applied, and we need to make sure we're consistent across the board. We currently have 12 paid holidays. We would be keeping the 12 paid holidays, changing out Columbus Day for Juneteenth. I think everybody recalls that we gave up Columbus Day this year for a floating holiday. The long term, starting next year, we would look to, instead of Columbus Day or a floating holiday, Juneteenth would become a holiday. We do close at noon on Return Day for Election Day, which we will not be doing this year because there is no Return Day celebration. Educational assistance. Right now, the city offers the educational assistance. The employee needs to pay for their tuition and books and everything. And if the employee receives a C equivalent or better, they can submit for reimbursement. We understand that that's a hardship for some of our employees, so we have added a section that would allow prepayment for courses on a case-by-case basis. That would be determined, the human resource administrator and the city manager would determine which employees would be eligible for that, based on the request made. It would need to be a request in writing. And you still have to submit your documentation of your grade. And if you do not, if you're prepaid and you do not get a C or better, you would have to pay back. So that's the risk of the prepayment, is that you may owe back. We still are keeping the requirement that an employee stays for 2 years beyond the courses, or would need to pay back for that. Bereavement leave. Currently, each employment is allowed up to 3 work days for the death of an immediate family member. When we did the last police contract, which is in place now, the union had requested that we include 1 day of bereavement leave for an extended family member. And so we have added that. So the extended family member is the employee's aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, or first cousin, or the employee's spouse's aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, or first cousin. Disciplinary action. But right now, it states discipline in terms of types of measures. It doesn't state it in terms of progression. So what we have done is we've taken that out and we have replaced it with a progressive disciplinary procedure, which again starts with an informal discussion where there's an error made. We talk to the employee about the error. We make sure it's clear what the expectation is going forward. The next step would be counseling, and that would be documented counseling, so that it's kind of like an oral warning. You talk again about what happened, what went wrong, why did it go wrong, what can we do to prevent it in the future, and there may be a reprimand notice, again, not as serious as a formal reprimand. And then if that doesn't help the problem, then you would go to a written reprimand, then potential suspension and failure to improve, which could be suspension, demotion, or termination. There are, we have some language in here that recognizes that there are some offenses that may be egregious enough that you don't go through the progression, that you start at a later step. You know, you could start with a reprimand, suspension, or even termination if something is serious enough. When you get to suspension or termination or demotion, that has to be done in conjunction with the city manager. Gifts and gratuities. Right now, the policy pretty much says that you're not allowed to accept any gift, favor, gratuity, except from the 4th Thursday in November through the 2nd Monday in January. And we recognize that there are other circumstances and other than Christmas during which people may want to, you know, bring food to the police department or, you know, give gift cards to people in the streets department or maintenance department. So what we have said is that from time to time, appreciative citizens may feel compelled to gift items such as food or gift cards, could be money, to city departments. These items may be accepted as long as they are for the workforce as a whole, so they're shared among the workforce and not for one individual. And they're not being used by the citizen to gain an action or a response. So that is what we are proposing to say about gifts and gratuities. Uniforms, currently there's just one line, and it's that the street department, we provide uniforms after the 6-month training period. We've expanded it to say that the city may provide uniforms and equipment for employees in certain positions. We actually say that employees may not wear hats which display advertising. And when you wear your uniform, you wear it to and from work and while you're at work. And anytime you are wearing your uniform, you're expected to act as a representative of the city. So, you know, if you are planning to go to happy hour, or if you're planning to you know, I don't know, go out after work, you should bring a change of clothes. And again, remember that when you have that uniform on, you want to behave in a way that is indicative of how you would represent the city. We've also said that the safety boots we would purchase after the 3-month portion of the introductory period. So we're still keeping the introductory period at 6 months, but we are kind of breaking it into that after 3 months, you can use leave and you would get your safety boots. We added a section on internet and email. So internet access is to be conducted in a responsible and professional manner, reflecting the city's commitment to ethical and non-discriminatory government practices. Includes sharing and viewing of discriminatory or explicit material. It's also our desire to protect the organization from viruses or other security breaches. So, you know, that's kind of where we're coming from. As it relates to your work computer, you should not have an expectation of privacy. It is city property. Misuse of the city's internet and email systems may be grounds for discipline up to and including termination. We added a line to employee recognition to say that the city may also provide other forms of recognition as deemed appropriate and as recommended by the Employee Engagement Committee. And we added language about e-cigarettes and smokeless tobacco in our smoke-free, tobacco-free environment policy. So this would clarify that use of e-cigarettes and smokeless tobacco is prohibited in city facilities and also in city vehicles. We are working on a recruitment policy. I think we're also working on a more detailed computer use policy that these will come forward separately, but they won't be part of the personnel manual. They will be part of a kind of a suite of policies. So that's what we have. At this point, we are planning to put this on the mayor and city council agenda for October 12th, which means that if there are employee comments, that we need those comments by the end of the day on Wednesday, October 7th, which is next Wednesday. So with that, are there any comments or questions? Anything? We can't hear you, Dennis. You're muted.
Oh, okay. I'm not a full-time employee, so none of this, them get ready to say impacts me. But what I'm wondering is,
Actually,
if I
that's not
were-
true. The lunch break stuff, and the uniform stuff.
yeah, no, but what I'm talking about is what I'm going to talk about right now doesn't impact me. But let's say if I were a full-time employee and my friend Rick or Lenora got sick, is there any thought to me being able to donate my sick leave that I've accrued to their good?
We have not considered that. That was brought up in one of the other sessions that we had. And that is something that if again, if we get a written comment or suggestion that we consider that we would put it before council to see if they wanted to develop a policy on that. But at this point, it's not part of anything.
Okay.
Anything else?
Is there a plan for more changes to come in further development of the policy manual?
Not immediate. I mean, this is the policy manual that we are taking forward to council. It could be that there could be a separate policy developed on a certain issue, or that it could be amended based on suggestions in the future. But at this point, this is what we're taking forward.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you can't really see me, but I am over here. I guess there was a couple things at the beginning of the slides that were mentioned that may be changed policy-wise that we didn't discuss. Not that they're really anything I'm super concerned about, but would those be things that we would talk about before they were changed or brought up to be changed?
Which things?
I know towards the end there was a couple notations. Just offhand, one was a pregnancy change about notifying your employee, and a couple things before that we didn't talk about.
No, so the pregnancy notice,
there was a couple things before that one that caught my eye that I don't think we talked about.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to that.
For some reason, that's just where I landed on after we got to those couple.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen again. I went back to that
And I
slide.
could have been mistaken. Maybe they weren't things we were going to talk about. Maybe they were things that didn't get changed.
No, so again, the manual is out there for you to review. It's on the it's on the intranet. So we do encourage everybody to go through it.
So those were just sections that were added. That's my fault. I thought those were things we were going to talk about that were changing, but they were just things that were added to the manual. Okay.
Right, but I do want to, the pregnancy notice is, it's really it's one of those things that's required by law to be in the manual. So it's like standard. No, I can't find it. Right after harassment, it is language that makes it clear that we're prohibited by law from discrimination based on pregnancy status.
Okay, yeah, I think that was just one. I just was trying to get this little section of stuff even the page before, these are just all things that were added, and that was my mistake. I thought those were things we were gonna be actually changing.
Okay,
So that's my mistake. I understand now.
okay. All right. Oh, we have something in the chat. Oh, Christine said, please submit all written comments to Christine through email. All comments and questions will be kept anonymous. Thank you. So if I don't know, you don't like one of the changes that was made, if you send it to Christine one isn't going to send it to me and say, Shelby said she didn't like this. And we're not going to take it to mayor and city council and say, Shelby said she didn't like this. We're going to, sorry, Shelby, I just looked up and you were in front of me. We would say this is a comment we received. We wouldn't attribute it to anybody. So we're going to be compiling the comments, but with no indication of who they came from. Any other questions? All right. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, we will let you all get back to your days. Thank you for coming in or coming on to Zoom and spending some time with us. And again, if you do have any questions, we need them by Wednesday, October 7th, by the end of the business day, which would be 4:30. All right. Thank you, everybody.